The men's competition back in '82 was a squeaker, and Brian, maybe a bit of an omen about the kinds of squeakers that were waiting for you in the future. Do you remember the night?
Yeah, I do remember the night, and it was extra stressful because I was defending my title for the first time.
Yeah.
And that whole season was stressful, and I remember it being a squeaker, and I remember Brian Pokar skating so well, and you know, it was just, you know, I just went along with it, and it was, you know, it was a first of many squeakers in my career.
Well, you know what? Johnny did an interview with you and Brian both after, and we have a little clip of it which I would like you to see.
Sure.
Have a look and watch the monitor.
One of the most dramatic moments I've ever seen in skating was created tonight by Brian Orser and by Brian Pokar. The two Brians tied coming into a final tonight. What a dramatic moment that was. How did you feel inside, Brian?
Well, I've never been this nervous going into the long program as I was tonight. And it is quite different going into it as a defending champion. But I felt confident going into it, and a few little slip-ups, but other than that, it felt pretty strong.
Brian, we said it was a dramatic moment because we really didn't know 60 days ago whether you would ever skate again in a championship. I'm wondering if you ever thought you would.
Actually, up until about Christmas time, I was wondering if I would even be here. But on the contrary to Brian, I didn't feel nervous at all. I just went out there and gave it my all, and I skated the best program I've ever skated.
So what do you think? Do you remember that?
I don't remember the interview. And looking back at it, I'm like, wow. I was so young, what a baby. You know, we were very green from the, you know, the Team Mariposa was these are some of the humbling beginnings of us. And you know, I was pretty green, I guess, obviously, even with interviews and even with the performance and the costuming and, you know.
Oh, sure. You talked off camera about the costume. What was the story behind the costume?
Well, I had been working with a choreographer out of Los Angeles who was connected with Ice Capades, who said, I'll get a costume for you from Ice Capades. So they were ready and able.
Like they made it for you?
They made it for me and sent it to me, and I actually received it in Brandon. So I never got to practice in it. It was actually a little bit too big. It was very heavy because of all the mirrors and the things on it, and just really not my style. But I went along with it, and I wore it, and
yeah, well,
never wore it again.
Never wore it again. Do you have a whole cupboard that's full of costumes that have memories attached to them?
Yeah, I do, and I kind of got over it. And that particular costume we just saw went in a garage sale I had a few years ago.
Oh, no.
And, you know, $5, gone.
Have you seen it since?
No.
On anybody?
No. Not yet.
That would kind of bring things rushing back, wouldn't it?
Would.
Let's go back to Brandon again. You spoke before we saw the interview about how different it was being the champion and having to come back and defend your title. What were the kinds of pressures you were feeling? And you skated first, too, between the two of you.
Oh.
Yes. Yes,
okay.
You did.
I was just feeling pressure all season. And, you know, after Halifax in 1981, when I won the first time, and it was a surprise, and I could have, you know, I came in and with the triple axel, and boom, I was there. And then I had to live up to that, especially with the triple axel. And it was overwhelming. All season was overwhelming. And suddenly I had everybody on my shoulders, and everybody had an idea, and everybody had some direction for me. And everybody was pulling, and I just couldn't take it. I just wanted to go back up to Penetang and hang out and just do it the way I've always been doing it. So I learned some lessons, and that year was a major turning point for me as well after '82. You know, when you go on to '83 and '84, you can see just a nice cleanup of everything, the choreography and costuming.
And a real development, too.
Yes, definitely.
I mean, when I think about that program from Canadians, you are still kind of a YMCA skater at that point.
Absolutely.
And then something really started to happen.
Yeah, and I'm not sure really what it was, but kind of got through '82 and getting and keeping my title, and then I was sort of a force to be reckoned with. And on the world scene, I was doing something. Mm-hmm. So, you know, and then I just started to mature as a man and as a skater, and I started working with Ushi, and she started helping with my style.
Ushi Kessler.
Yes, mm-hmm. And it was really it was neat, and it was neat to sort of see the progression over 8 years.
I also think, I mean, I was commentating on you at that point, which is sort of weird because then we went on to work together on CTV's commentary team too. But I remember looking at you as a skater and thinking, that one's smart. Because not a lot of oh boy, I'm going to get letters about this, but not a lot of skaters are necessarily rocket scientists, and you don't have to be. But you were the type of skater that looked at other people. You would see you at the boards during events, and you'd be watching other people, and it was almost like you were soaking things in. Am I right?
No, you're absolutely right. And I would look around and sort of look at, size up the competition, see what they were doing, especially at the World Championship. I would look around and I remember watching Scott Hamilton and Norbert Schramm and thinking, they're not really that great, and
or that much better than you are.
Or that much better, and I can actually compete with these guys soon, like next year kind of thing. So, I do look around, and I try to watch what the programs are like and see the combinations and the spins and areas where I can actually work on when I get home to be better than them. So, yes, I think I was smart and took it all in.
Yeah, very aware. When did you know you wanted to be a skater?
Oh, boy.
Your sister used to skate.
Yes. And at one time, my entire family was involved with the Midland Figure Skating Club. 2 brothers, 2 sisters. My mom was the president of the club. So we were...
You didn't have a choice.
I didn't really have much of a choice, but first time I put on skates, of course, I loved it. And I was actually having this conversation with Kurt Browning the other day, and just any time there was ice, usually outdoor, I would go on it. And if my parents, if it was dark out and they wanted me home, that would be the first place they'd go to, is go find a rink someplace. And I'd be out there by myself, just doing it, just twirling and skating fast and falling, and had no idea of time, and had to go home after that. But it was
always a love.
Oh, passionate. I just loved it.
And you still do, huh?
Yeah, I do.
And you're still skating brilliantly, I might add. There was a year or so in there where I think you were kind of losing your motivation.
Yeah. I kind of lost my focus, and I don't know. It's just sort of one of those things that happen in life with everything. And I really, really love skating now, and I like skating well.
You got those old triples back?
I got a lot of the triples back. Even, just a month ago, I started doing triple axel again.
Oh, don't scare me with that.
Which I've just actually committed myself now for next year.
Oh, no.
But and it feels good. I'm probably the oldest guy in the world doing triple axel.
You taught me something very important, and I'm going to end with this because it's probably the best piece of advice that any skater can give to anyone about being the best at what you want to be. I asked you once what your secret to being great was, and you said, I do homework. I work hard. I train. I never take for granted that because I could do it yesterday, I'll be able to do it today.
Wow. Hard work. That's it. And when I watch some kids in rinks, sometimes they're hit and miss, but if you work hard every day and you pay your dues, it'll happen.
And it did for you, and I can't thank you enough for spending the time.
My pleasure.
With us today. A delight. Brian Orser. Brandon was number 2 in an uninterrupted string of 8 national senior titles for Brian.